Hey guys, how's it going? Well, here in Muddy Flats we're experiencing some hit and miss pop-up thunder showers, so kind of out here in the middle of that, trying to avoid getting rained on and that kind of thing. So today it's been a very pretty day, and I spent the first part of it running around doing some errands and paying some bills and drudgery like that. So I spent the last part of the day, the second half of the day, doing something fun, which for me is to go to the junkyard, among other things. But I originally went over to the junkyard here, the LKQ here in town. It's on the other side of town, to look for some stuff for Uncle Phil's ride. We're still working a little bit on Uncle Phil's ride, but looking for some things for it, and kind of struck out. But I actually found some things that I wasn't even looking for and wasn't even expecting to find, because LKQ is convenient to here, but they have mainly insurance write-offs and things like that, so a lot of their inventory is late model stuff. Not much older cars and trucks in there, but for whatever reason this time around they had some older stuff in there, some older trucks. They had a 66 Caprice, they had a 78 Cutlass, a couple others. But what I was happy to find was a 82 Dodge Diplomat with a slant 6, and that is not a very common combination, and it was a complete car all there. Just looked like it just been put in there. So you have kind of a struggle with your conscience about stuff like that. You hate to see a car like that that's entirely usable be put in the junkyard and junked. But on the other hand, you know when it's in the junkyard that there's no going back. It's going to have to either have the parts taken off of it to be used on something else and all that, or it gets crushed. So that was my dilemma. I had to go ahead and decide that I wanted to get the parts off of it, which I did. And slant 6, like I said, slant 6 Diplomats that year are not common, and I hated to see that. It was a slant 6 with an automatic and air conditioning, and a pretty straight car, but it is what it is. So I was able to score some things off of it and save some parts off of it that can be used on something else before it got crushed. And I'm actually going back for something else, which I'll show you in another video later. I haven't got back there yet. It'll be about another week. But let's take a look at what we got here. It's not a whole lot of stuff, but you know, I've noticed other people's videos, when you start working on cars and things like that, you sort of develop a discerning eye for things that you need to get and stuff that you need to leave alone and let pass, I guess you could say. So that's what I've been doing. I can pretty much look at something that's kind of rare, kind of unusual, kind of desirable, and go ahead and get it if I think I need it, or someone else will need it. There's not a big fan base for Mopars down here. Not as, I'll say that, not as large as there is in other parts of the country, so it's not a big demand for parts here. So it's not like I got it out from under somebody else. So let's take a look at the first thing we got here. This was an 82, and this was a slant 6 with air conditioning, so it had a 22-inch radiator on it, 22-inch from side to side horizontally, and that's the fan shroud off of it and the matching fan. And these are getting kind of desirable to have, because these fan shrouds get junked and broken and cracked and lost, and no longer able to find them. So it's glad to find that. Either I can use it or someone else can use it down the road. And here's the fan from it, and this is, I especially wanted this because this is a viscous fan. This is a clutch fan, and you notice how shallow this is in here from the mounting surface to the end of the clutch, and it's a 5-blade fan, so that will fit. Not only will that fit a slant 6, but it'll fit a V8, and those are desirable because they're shallow, so for space considerations that's a good fan to have. So I definitely picked that up. And I was going on along, and I was looking under the air cleaner. The air cleaner was still on it, and I was looking under there, and I was noticing that there's a carburetor on it. It's a 1 barrel, and it was not lean burn, which I was glad to see that. So I was peeking under there, and I decided, well, I'll just go ahead and grab that carburetor for a spare. And what I was expecting to find in there was a Holley 1945, like I've got on my Plymouth out there already. So I thought I'd just pick an extra nut for a spare. Well, that's not what I found under there. When I got the air cleaner off of it, I found this. And this is this is a 1966 BBS, Carter BBS carburetor. And this was used on a slant 6 through the 60s, and then maybe the very, very early 70s, in conjunction with a Holley 1920, which I hate. I hate those Holleys because they're a bad design and they leak and they just give all sorts of problems. So this is a good carburetor to have too if you have a slant 6. You can use one. Like I said, I may not be able to use it, but I'm sure someone can. And this one is even got its original application tag on it, which is very, very nice to have. That's 4100S, and that comes back to a 1966 slant 170 cubic inch slant 6 with an automatic. And it's in pretty decent shape. And that thing was on that late model slant 6, and so they had the linkage all jerry-rigged on it, and the choke linkage, the rod that comes up from the automatic choke coil down here, that thing was bent into an S shape to get it to go on here, and it wasn't even hooked up. So somebody just, like I see a lot, somebody half-assed it. I'm sure that car didn't run right. They had the this port here is your vacuum advance port for your distributor, and those cars have a charcoal canister, and you have the bowl vent too, which comes over, and you're supposed to have a carburetor that has a bowl vent connection up here, and this one does not. They had that thing hooked to this over here, so they had a vacuum line hooked into the friggin' charcoal canister. There's some other stuff going on. It was all bad. It was all wrong. So that thing, I'm sure, didn't run worth a crap. Let me help. So got that, and then over here we have an alternator. I'm sorry. And normally I wouldn't buy an alternator from the junkyard. I wouldn't touch one because most of what you find in there is a reman, and reman alternators are junk. As long as you keep them under warranty, that's fine. But what I like to buy is one of these, and this is probably the original alternator on that car because it has its tag on it right here. If you look here, it says 1684 to disregard that, and then there's the part number 4091565, and then it says, turn it around here, it says 60 amp. So a lot of these are like 35 amp, but since this has air conditioning, it needed a bigger alternator, and it's got a 81 casting date on it. So probably the original alternator, and that's good because that's what you want to look for, because that means this alternator has never been apart. It's never been hacked back together by some offshore rebuilder. It's got all its original parts in here and everything's matched, so that's a great thing. So I'll keep that in my inventory as a spare for the Plymouth out there because it uses a single groove pulley like this one. And you can change those pulleys if you need to, but you wouldn't believe the people I see screw that up. They put a single groove, stay up there, doggone you, trying to show something. They put a single groove alternator on a dual groove application, or they put a dual groove alternator on a single groove application, and that's stupid to do that. You know, it just takes a little bit of research to know what to get for it. Got the skeeters out here. So when you're replacing an alternator on these older Mopars, do it the right way. Get the right alternator for it. Just think a little bit and ask yourself, do I have a dual, do I have two grooves or do I have one groove? Alright, continuing along here, I always buy these original Chrysler radiator caps if they're in good shape, and this one is. Get out of here, mosquito. This is a 16-pound cap. It's got your part number there. What is that? 378-1830. And it's a T1 date code on it. So sometime in that late 81. Probably the T is probably the month. No, that wouldn't be right. I don't think they go up that high. So, well, it'd be in 81. So that was the original cap off that car too. That car was all original. Makes me sad a little way. But and here's something neat. This is an electronic voltage regulator with its original sticker, and it has a part number of 4111990, and that's probably the date code there. The 35th week in 81, 35th week out of 82 weeks. So that's a fairly late 81 manufacture date. Of course, they had to put their stupid ink on it right here, but I can get that back off. And this one kind of looks like it's running a little bit warm, so I'm not sure it's any good. But if nothing else, I can use this as I can use this sticker as a template to make another sticker and maybe reproduce those. So I always like to buy original stuff like that. Honk that horn, honk that damn horn. Resonance. Here's a couple of these nondescript hubcaps, but they were in the trunk. And after the battle that I fought to get in the trunk, I was not going to pass these up, because these are another thing that, I won't say they're rare, but they're kind of, damn, I'm going to get eat up out here by the mosquitoes. They're not that common anymore, because nobody hung on to them. So there you go, guys. That's what we got for our parts haul today. And like I said, I've been trying to be careful not accumulate a bunch of parts that I don't need. But, you know, I love Mopars, and, you know, good Lord willing, hopefully I can do some other projects coming up. I know I kind of get in one gear on these things, and I tend to get one almost to perfection, I guess, before I'll switch off to something else. But doesn't mean I forgot about them. I'll get there, hopefully, soon, hopefully. Okay then, so there you go. It's the stuff to look for when you're in the junkyard. So I hope everybody enjoys, and have a good one, and rate, comment, subscribe. See ya.